Hi, welcome to Lockdown Singing Exercises Week 2. My name's Jon Grave. I'm a classical tenor and lecturer at the University of Chichester Conservatoire. This week, we're going to be using a straw. But before we do that, I always like to start with a physical aspect to our warm-up, and we're going to consider something which is, I think, very pertinent at the moment, which is jaw tension. You may not be aware that any sort of stresses and tough moments in our life often tend to go into our jaw muscles, hence phrases such as, for the British, the stiff upper lip. So there's a lovely exercise we can do to try and get rid of some of this tension. So if you take your thumb, hopefully you've washed your hands first, and we're just going to put it between our front teeth, and then very gently move our jaw from side to side. So the reason we use the thumb is partly so we're keeping the mouth open in a nice sort of singing position, but also it's much easier to feel the movement that's actually going on compared to... I can see myself nicely on the screen, but it's quite hard to sense that. So it gives us an idea of how we're moving. Now, it's really important with this exercise to be as smooth as possible. If you're feeling any little sort of judders in the movement, that's actually tension there. So try and go half the speed you went the first time and see if it can be really super smooth movement. And if you can do a minute or two of that, you'll feel things really start to loosen here and you have a much greater awareness of what's going on. I used to suffer from quite a lot of grinding my teeth when I slept, and doing lots of these exercises has completely got rid of that. We always have a breathing exercise this week, and this week's is my favourite. It's the silent laugh. So if you are from somewhere like the UK and used to the freezing cold sea, I'd like you to imagine you're going for a swim in January or February, and you would make a noise, something like... If you're from somewhere a bit warmer, then you're going to have to stick with either the thought of a freezing cold shower or somebody putting really cold hands on you in the winter. So just try that one more time. Hopefully you are feeling that in two places in your body. One is retraction in the throat. It's very common for singers, as the voice particularly gets higher, to have sort of strain and tension coming in. I think it's often most obvious in amateur tenors with the sort of tension sound. If we add this laugh into the sound, it really opens things up. The second place, which you might be probably more aware of, is the intercostal muscles. So down on the side below your ribs, the pelvic floor area, and all around the diaphragm. So, as I said, this was called the silent laugh, and that exercise is making quite a bit of noise. So now just try doing exactly the same thing, but making it completely silent. And I think it really changes the feeling of this to something like incredible excitement or anticipation, like, you're about to win an incredible award or even be proposed to. So we're going to come back to this, but now if you can find your straw, hopefully a clean one. I know it's not particularly environmentally friendly to be using plastic straws these days, but I've had mine on the go for a couple of years. I do clean it every so often. These exercises are semi-ocluded vocal tract exercises, which were developed by Ingo Titze. There's full sort of scientific thought behind them. What that really means is your mouth isn't fully open when you're singing, which creates a level of resistance, which is then reflected into your vocal folds, and this helps you sort of balance the pressure better there. So first of all, just take your straw. The thinner the better, the more pressure there will be, though you can use a sort of thicker straw and gradually get smaller. But we're just going to imagine we're doing sort of little hills or waves of sound that get gradually bigger. So just put it between your lips like you're going to have an orange juice in your packed lunchbox, and we'll just sing to R. Gradually extending your range. Two really important things with this. Firstly, we want to check that we're not humming, which will send the sound a bit down the nose. You can check this by just pinching your nose as you sing. Hopefully it shouldn't make much difference to the sound. The other is just to check there's no air escaping out the sides. So now that we've done that, why don't we add this, just do some little arpeggios getting higher. And then as we get towards, you might call it the break in your voice, or in classical terms, the passaggio, we're going to try and add a bit of our silent laugh into this to help our voice go higher. It's a basic rule of singing. The more sort of energy and excitement and emotion we have, the higher our voice tends to go, the same as in speech. So just a quick practice of your silent laugh again. And we're going to add this into the next one. And then you might want to keep extending that up even higher depending on how comfortable it feels and what type of voice you are. So how can we use this in our singing? Well, as with our siren last week, we can sing all of our repertoire with this, and obviously it's much quieter than normal, so we're going to be disturbing our neighbours less. I feel like working on a little bit of Puccini's famous Nessun Dorma. So here's my first little section. Now, obviously, if we're trying not to disturb the neighbours, we wouldn't normally sing it first, but perhaps you want to hear what a difference this makes to the voice. So here's my first version. Ma mio mistero chiuso in me. And then I'm going to try it with my straw. And then we try it again without. Ma mio mistero chiuso in me. Now, there's a few ways of measuring the change, and often it's quite hard to tell when your recording equipment is very close to you. But my trusty decibel monitor has told me that my first version was 88 decibels and the second was 104, so it's quite a big change. And I feel that the sound has sort of become richer as well. So obviously you can work on all your repertoire like that. Now, just to finish, we like to include an acting exercise this week. And this is going to be to do with emotion. And similar to our silent laugh, we're just going to decide what each phrase we are singing in, what the sort of feeling is behind it. This is a really important thing to know when you're on stage, the actual reason why you're singing. So in my case, Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me. My mystery is hidden in me. I've just found out that I've sort of won the princess, but nobody knows who I am. So I'm sort of quite excited about that. So I'm going to add a bit more of that silent laugh into it. Ma mio mistero è chiuso in me. So go through all your repertoire and try and decide. It might change every single phrase you're singing into a different meaning. You can even experiment on one phrase with lots of different ideas. It almost sometimes feels like a light goes on when you get it right. So I hope that's been some help for you, and we'll see you next week again with your straw.